Greetings, welcome to the Power of Purpose. It's me again, Anton NM. It's wonderful to be with you once more, and I have a special guest today. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Great. It's a pleasure to meet you and to talk to you about your life.
Thank you. It's my honor.
Yeah. And how was it? Can you tell me just your full name and basically the background of your growth?
Okay, known as Leana,
Yeah.
but Leana, born, baptized as Leana Emily Hengari. I have my father's son. My mom and my dad were married when I got birth. So yeah, I got born and raised in Windhoek, Namibia.
Windhoek.
In Windhoek.
Wow.
I'm a Windhoeker, as they would call it.
Okay.
061.
Yes.
But yeah, I've been here all my life.
But have you traveled to other towns and other countries, perhaps?
Yes. My mom's family is from South Africa.
Okay.
She grew up that side part was actually they traveled here. She was raised in Lutherans, and basically that's how she made the transition into Namibia. Met my dad.
Yeah.
Here in Namibia. So, we traveled a lot to South Africa.
Oh, okay.
A lot, because most of my mom's family is that side.
Yeah.
So basically, she and her brother, they're the only ones here. And I've traveled locally.
Okay.
I love Swapo. I think we all do.
Oh, yeah, most
sea.
people, of course.
The
Yeah,
sea.
yeah.
And yeah, so I've traveled to the coast, the north,
Yeah.
the south. I haven't been that much to the east. Maybe when I was small, because my dad is from the east.
Okay,
so.
when you're a young little girl.
A young little girl.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So, which part of Windhoek did you mostly grow up most of your time and your years?
I grew up in Okuriangawa. Basically, my mom, them stayed in Karutura before I was birthed, and I was like 3-4 months when they moved to Okuriangawa. What is basically now known as the largest informal settlements in Windhoek, in Namibia.
Oh, okay.
Okaensha Park. She got thrown out of her house and late she had a new baby.
Okay.
So she had to make do.
Yes.
And that's where she found herself, built a house from scratch, which was a shack. And I grew up with me and my siblings. We grew up there, but halfway through my siblings moved to other family members, which means my brother moved to Cape Town. My 2 older sisters, one moved to Appington in South Africa also, and the other one went to stay in Katutura with other family members. And
Okay.
but I was mostly at home
You're
in
mostly at
Okaensha
home.
Park, and that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
Basically.
So, your father was not there. You were just with your single mother.
My father was there the first 6-7 years of my life.
Okay.
When I was really small. But due to the violence and everything, they separated because he made an ultimatum. It's him or my mother.
Okay.
Oh, no, us or him. So my mom chose her kids.
Yeah.
So he moved out, got another wife or woman, and yeah.
Okay, so how was it growing up in a house where there was too much violence and a lot of words back and forth?
Okay. I don't know. Like, sometimes we joke about it, talking about it now.
Yeah, yes.
Because we still find it a bit impossible on how we survived. Because my dad was a very violent person.
Okay.
He was abusive. And when we mean abusive, I mean emotionally, psychologically, verbally, physically. He tried to kill us more than a couple of times.
Okay.
And yeah, verbally, he wouldn't want us to eat food if he brought it, so which meant we had to starve.
Okay.
He would literally cook, eat his food because it's his food. Give the leftovers to the dogs. So we started normalizing it at a certain point. We were like, it's a cycle, so we were used to it. I tried to kill my dad too a couple of times because we had this back and forth where he snaps and then he beats from my mom to the dogs. Everyone, every living thing in the house.
Yeah.
The same went with when he was angry or he was quarreling. He wouldn't just be quarreling to one person, everyone. So, for what, like growing up, you were like, we're used to it. You're used to the beating, you're used to the violence. It's fine.
So the abnormal life became a normal
It
life.
became a norm. And basically my only escape was when I went to kindergarten because I would be between other kids and other people. So yes, but you knew the moment you get home, you were never sure
Yeah.
what was right or what you were doing right or what you were just never sure what would trigger him.
Yeah.
So while he was there, we could escape the little we could.
Wow.
Yeah.
You struggled through that and all those moments, and you grew into teenagehood. How was it like to be a teenage girl and you see other girls who are maybe growing up in so-called normal life in a normal house?
It was sad.
Okay.
I have to be very honest. Because once my father moved out,
Yes.
like when he was there, I never really had a father.
It was just like...
He was there. You know, we never really had a relationship. Our relationship was very complex because there was the abuse and everything. And once he moved out, my mom was juggling 3 to 4 jobs at a time, trying to provide food, trying to keep us alive.
Yeah.
So she was also most of the time not at home. So, or she would be coming home late. And at school meetings, she could not always make it, or there was always this thing about my mom not being able to be there because, and I understood she had to work, but at times I felt I needed her. And especially in my teenage years, people had relationships with their fathers. They could talk about their fathers and their mothers, and I couldn't really talk about anything.
Yeah.
So it brought a part of me that was really envious of other kids, especially when they had like, oh, my father is like this, or my mom, and you're just there like, oh, that's nice, because I didn't have much to say. You understand?
Yeah.
I had little time with her.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit envious and depressing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What mechanisms, or did you manage to move through that adolescent and teenage years of your life, which was very struggling? Because that was, maybe could be the time of experimenting.
Yes.
You are growing into a girl, there are these feelings and all kind of things, and you don't really have a proper, your mother is struggling 3, 4 jobs, and your father is never present. How did you manage to move through all that moment?
At times I wondered too. I ponder like, how the hell did I make it through?
Yeah.
Because looking back, I was always the shadow. Even between my friends, I was there, I was not there. I suffered depression since I can remember, depression and anxiety.
Since your teenage years?
Since my teenage years. I had just mastered it. By the time I got to grade 7, grade 8, I had mastered the art of hiding it.
Hiding the depression.
Hiding that I'm sad, that I'm feeling lonely, that I'm feeling unworthy. I knew how to hide it when I'm between people. So what I started doing is, because I couldn't really express any of it, I would prick myself with a needle.
With a needle?
Yes. Because if you take a blade and you cut yourself, people can see the marks.
See, yeah.
So they'll be questioning you. So I didn't want to be questioned. So I would literally prick myself on my veins just to see, okay, how far I can get the blood to flow in, the pain. So, and I tried always to be loud. So at least just for someone to recognize me or to be accepted or just something. But there was always that void. And I don't even know how to answer your question because I myself can't say how I coped through it.
Yeah.
I think part of it was reading a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Music and reading. Like
music and reading. So you talked about depression. I would want to go back there, and which might also lead to a little bit of struggle of low self-esteem. So how was it Did you ever find the root causes of your depression and your low self-esteem?
Yeah.
Okay, talk about it.
Oh my word. Do I want to get into that? Okay. I was raped and I was molested from the age of 5.
Age of 5.
Yeah. Molested, raped a couple of times, and sexually molested. So, my brain
Yes.
started at the back. It was like a reflex. So I didn't remember that part. But I always had this need where I never felt I belonged. I never felt worthy between people. And it was through my school years. And basically my only friends were the people I knew. Like I never really thought anyone wanted to know me.
Yeah.
And I never thought I was worthy to be known or be appreciated.
Yes.
And I always felt my brain was the only thing I had because my body wasn't my own. I didn't feel like my body belonged to me. And
Yeah.
so, round about grade 6, grade 7, that's
Yeah.
when I started remembering all these things. It's like, it just started flashing back. An incident happened that triggered all these memories.
Okay.
And I was already suffering this lonely feeling, this hate, self-hate. Like, when I mean self-hate, I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated me. I hated my life, like where I'm growing up, where I'm living. I hated every part of me.
Yeah.
So I was going through that. And grade 7, when that happened, it triggered, it got worse. That's when I started with the self-killing, where I wanted to now
Commit
commit
suicide.
suicide a couple of times, and people didn't pick it up around me.
Okay.
It's like we were all living our lives. We were in one house, but everyone was living their own life. So I felt like even the people I'm living with don't see what I'm going through. So
Yeah.
what is my use? And somehow my brain was the only tool I ever thought I had, my mind.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times where people tried to make me feel a fool or stupider than I am, and I would let them, but then a part of my brain would tell me, no, you're smart, this is all you've got. And I think that's what actually kept me going. The fact that I told myself that I had to be as smart as I can, I had to be as wise as I can, I had to be as intelligent as I can. So I would read, I would want to know things.
Yes.
If we had a topic, I would literally want to do my research on that topic. Because
Yes.
And yeah, so writing and reading became my escape. So I think that's how I started just letting that part out. I read a lot novels and stuff. I've never been really someone of TV, like the television, but there was a time when I wanted to be an actress.
But looking back, did you ever talk to your mom about what happened to you?
At last year, yes.
Last year?
Yes.
From 5 years to until how old were you when you told her?
25 when I told her.
20 years.
25
passed.
years.
You were 25, which means is it 20 years or
20
15
years.
years passed?
Yes. And I could. The thing about my father is, I knew he was capable of killing us. There was a point where I actually self-molested myself, because I was so used to the pain, I thought it was normal. And that was like a gateway for all these other guys to start doing what they also did to me, because I thought it was normal. And I never could tell anyone, because even when you read and when you look at the media, like they have a kind of a thing that they throw at people like that. Like
Yes.
You were asking for it, you wanted it, or there is this stigma on it. So I never really wanted to open up. I remember I tried telling my sisters once, but they were occupied.
So it happened once, and then it opened up a gate for several other men to do
It didn't happen
this.
once.
It didn't happen
I was
once.
actually groomed into it by my father. Kept on repeating it.
And you never told your mother?
I never told her.
You never told anyone?
And I couldn't. I didn't.
How was it keeping such a secret?
Normal. I thought, hey, just don't talk about it. I thought they would figure it out, but they never did. My mom, if she would find me doing it to myself, she would literally just beat me. And then it's over. We don't talk about it. The first time I spoke about it was with my cousin.
Yeah.
And she was the first person I actually opened up to. But I never could say the word sex or rape or molested because I was in denial.
Okay.
And she would probe and she would ask me, and I would just start crying because, as I said, I couldn't acknowledge it. I didn't want to own it. I felt ashamed. But she was the only person I could talk about my feelings, my thoughts, and was non-judgmental. So she's the person who opened up this gateway for me towards healing, towards accepting what happened.
Yeah.
Because she also started picking up, like, if certain scenes come in a movie or on TV, I would get emotional.
When you told your mom at the age of 25 what had happened from the husband she loved and the same husband, the father of the children, begin to molest the children, how did your mom respond?
She was angry. She was really angry. And even the circumstance under which I told her was not the best. My sisters had the opportunity of knowing her. She was there for them because they were way older than me. I was like the last born.
Yes.
Like, out of anger, I spelled it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, she was there for you guys, but she was never there, and it just came out.
Your sisters felt your mom was on your side?
No, was always there for them.
For them?
They had a mother. They knew they could talk to her, and they had that relationship. And because I felt I never really had that relationship with my mother, and she wasn't there for me, it came out in a moment of anger. And because my plan was never to talk about it, never to tell her. I wanted her to die. She didn't know. She said she was angry. Why didn't I tell her earlier and all that? And yeah. And only for me to find out that what he had done, I was not the only person who was doing it. So he did it to my oldest sister.
So your older sister was a victim as well?
Was also a victim. My sister before me was also a victim. Where he also tried. He luckily didn't succeed with her. So,
what did your mom do after you tell her as a part of maybe asking for healing or forgiveness or find a remorse to say, my daughter, can we build up from the broken grasses?
We have a point where we can now talk about it. At times it's still painful because she's now having her own healing process. She didn't know. So it was a habit. It's not, for so long I blamed myself. I thought maybe it was just me. But now seeing that I wasn't the only victim, and God forbid, I hope there's more victims. My mom was angry. She was at a point where she wanted to go and find him and kill him.
Okay.
And I told her killing is not the way to go. I'm on my path of healing where I think I've forgiven him. I think.
You think?
Yes, because as I tell people, forgiveness is very tricky. I can say I forgive you, but I can never really say it unless I look at you and I can acknowledge that I really do forgive you for what you have done.
Is your father still alive?
He is.
When are you gonna have strength?
I don't know.
To say,
I don't even know where he is.
Perhaps he might be watching this program wherever he is. Would you want to sit down with him and express
the way my
your grief?
family feels? They feel like killing him, but so whatever apology or whatever reason he gives, is it ever going to be enough to mend all the broken pieces?
You don't feel that his apology won't be enough to heal, to help you heal?
So. I don't think so.
Okay.
There is a difference between what you feel and what you think. Big difference. Sometimes you feel that, as I tell people, I've forgiven him.
Okay.
But then I say, I think I have forgiven him because it happened. I can't go back. I can't unwind. I can't.
Psychologists and counselors say in order to be completely healed, you need a closure.
You need closure, but sometimes is the closure really worth it? Because we all need closure, yes. I'm a counselor, I tell people that. But once you sit there with that person, after it, do you acknowledge it? How do you perceive it? How do you take it? How do you move on? How do you say like, oh, maybe the reasons they give you is not the answers you wanted.
Yeah.
So as much as we want closure, how ready are we for it?
Okay. And sometimes it does not mean they don't want to apologize for the tragedies that have happened in life. Sometimes they also don't have strength to come out of the curves. Will you pray for strength, for God to give you the strength to pull him out of the
I pray for
curves?
his soul every day. I pray for his soul. I pray that God, I know if he asks God for forgiveness, God will forgive him definitely. That I know. I've made excuses for why he did what he did. I've made excuses for him. And every time I made those excuses, it never felt good enough. Even I myself, making up the excuses for him, didn't find peace in the excuses I made for him. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, I don't think an answer is ever going to be enough.
You have survived the darkest moment that many haven't seen. Many have just, and others are still experiencing them. And you have come out the bright side of life. You are now an author. You are now a motivational speaker, a counselor. You do amazing. I would say, for lack of a better word, I say you are a miracle and a miracle to many people. You were talking about the battles, the dark moments you have gone through, and you have passed through the gates, and somehow you have found some kind of healing. In your poetry book, there are moments you do talk about romance, love.
So you had to pick love.
Yeah, because it's there.
All right.
So in your
Love is always
poetry
gonna be
book,
there.
Painfully Beautifully,
Yes.
you do talk about some moments of love. So I just want to know the transition. You have gone to the brighter side. Have you now ever met a man that you felt like, oh yeah?
Oh my word. Okay, honestly speaking, let's be very candid now.
Yeah.
Love, if you read the book, it has different phases and different kinds of relations to love. So it depends on which love. But yeah, there are loves that was inspired by a certain person. And I still have a bit of a problem when it comes to men. Like what I'm attracted to.
Oh, okay.
Or what I like, or what I find that this person I could eventually go into a relationship. And so far I've only had one relationship ever in my life. One man. This guy who at last who I finally had the ability to connect with on that level is he was celibate too.
Celibate?
Yes.
Okay.
And we connected on a much deeper level than that. We could talk. We could talk for hours. We could just be ourselves. And I think that's what made me fall for him.
Okay.
Because as much as I tried to tempt him and I tried to unlock that potential, that I'm right. He would be like, darling, you're wrong.
Yes.
So yeah, one guy ever.
One man.
One man. And once that didn't work out, I was like, well.
Let's go back to the man.
Yes.
Let's go back to the man. At one point, after being broken and by men who are supposed to protect you, supposed to love you, and they have broken you in pieces, and you finally arrive into the hands of a man. How was it comforting? Liberating?
It was good because this person listened.
Okay.
And I would have my moments where I would just cry for no apparent reason, or where don't touch me moments, don't come into my space moments. And why I would say we could connect is he allowed me to be that. If I wanted to cry, he'll sit there, he'll be like, okay, why are you crying? If he asked after the third time, like, why are you crying, and I'm not answering, he'll be sitting there in silence. It's like, okay, girl, you cry, do you? I'm like, don't touch me. he learned to respect that, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not going to touch you.
Yeah.
So how I arrived, I don't know, because we were friends.
So there was communication, there was respect.
Yes.
There was value. There's certain value this man seems to have placed on you.
Placed, yes.
Or he had seen in you, whichever way that you can put it in.
Yes.
And did you find in him some fatherly comforting that you missed?
That's the damage of us girls. If you grow up without we all have, girls, we have daddy issues.
Okay.
Especially if you grow up in a situation where your father was not involved or your father did, you will have that kind of mentality. And I would say with him he was a person who always wanted to be in control. Okay. Not always, but he had control. He had a certain way. And I think that is what I found, that comfort that I could be me.
We're talking about this amazing guy that literally transformed.
He was amazing,
okay.
But his time ended. Our journey ended.
So who ended?
Like, do you really want to answer that question?
I just want to know if he was really that amazing. You would want everybody would want to keep a man closer like that, you know.
Everyone would.
Yes.
But not a broken girl. Let me put it in a way.
Yes.
I was a girl, not a woman yet.
Okay.
Or that's how I perceive it from where I'm sitting right now.
Yes.
I had a vision on the woman I wanted to become, the type of woman I knew was in me.
Okay.
To love out. And I didn't feel I was ready or I was that woman for him yet. I was still trapped in between being the girl and the woman and who I'm supposed to be, and I was still in my dark, twisted place. Okay. And it was unfair for me to bring that damage to him or to take him through that damage with me.
Okay.
So I had to make a choice of, do I let you go or do I break you down and then we are both equally as damaged? Yeah. And I do not want to damage the next person. That's not my intention. So I had to let him go.
So you loved him so much, not to let him get into your mess, but to let him go as healthy as he was.
Yes. Because he already established who he was. He knew who he was. He was the person he wanted to be, and I was not halfway there yet. So I had to make that choice of telling him, you know what, dude, peace out. We're gonna meet if destiny allows us, and if I'm the woman I can be, not for you. Yes. Let's not get it wrong. It was about myself, because if I could be the person and the woman I wanted to be for myself, then I can be the person for you. Yeah. And I was not at that point. I was not at that stage. This is a big book.
Okay, I see.
Okay, 35. And it's called, the title of this poem is What is Pain?
What is pain?
It's one of those pieces that I do a lot. So, okay. Yeah. Funny that you gave it. What is pain? You ask me what is pain, and I do not know how to begin to describe it. Because is it that bittersweet feeling that I do not know how to describe? If pain was all the times when the monster came for a visit, seeing my mother cry and not being able to dry her tears, seeing the scars on my mother and knowing how they got there, but not being strong enough. Yeah. It was wanting to cry but never able to let it be. Was it seeing my sister in pain and not being able to help?